Welcome back to Sober Kart. A lot of people think the feather is the worst item in Mario Kart World, but honestly, that just means they've been using it wrong. Because on so many tracks in this game, the feather isn't just usable, it's ridiculously powerful, and if you're front running, it may even be the most underrated item in the entire game. Today I'll be going through all 30 tracks in Mario Kart World and showing you the single best feather skip on every single one of them. Starting with Peach Stadium, this one was showcased in the Mario Kart World Direct, and it takes little to no practice. By using the feather to jump on this rail, you can take this whole turn as tight as possible. Only thing to know here is to not overshoot the jump. For Rainbow Road, on the section right after the water, take the upper path and use the feather to jump over this entire gap. This is almost impossible to fail unlike the mushroom version. Although there are many feather cuts on Rainbow Road, this is the largest time save. On Koopa Beach 2, you can use the feather in the spot you would normally want to use your mushroom in the same way. You can even shave off even more time by wall riding the rock edge on the left, but the timing is a little tricky, so learn this easy version first. The Dino Dino Jungle one will take a little practice, but is a must learn. When on this red rail, right trick at the end and wall ride till you detach and hold right while you then feather before hitting the ground, and right trick as much as you can. For Great Question Block Ruins, sure, you can use it to cut the final 180 turn, but to save even more time, use it to get onto this rail and set yourself up for the sequence of turns much faster than going around and jumping up to the rail with a charged. Now, there's not much on Peach Beach, and considering this box cut can technically be done shroomless, I would advise saving the feather until you hit the final section and jump over these boxes to avoid the slow water, though knowing a green can also break this box means you can just use the feather to dodge a red shell here. For Faraway Oasis, you probably already know, but in case you don't, use it to jump this final turn, though you should note to aim backwards towards the finish line for the fastest version. There's actually a few decent spots for Wario Shipyard, but none are quite as good as the normal mushroom cut you ideally take each lap. This saves you from driving on the water and cuts off the largest portion of off-road. On to DK Pass. Once again, you want to use the feather to cut the final turn of this track. To take this the easiest, go off the left side of the last jump to start your turn and aim the feather over the left edge of the wall. If you go too far right here, Lakitu will pick you up. This may take a few practice tries to lock it down, but it is so worth it. On Sky High Sunday, it's not much, but right after where you would normally want to use the mushroom, as long as you get the trick boost, you can use the feather to jump the second platform. Small, but can keep you in contention. Starview Peak has the hardest one we've covered so far and will need a lot of practice. Aim to wall ride this ledge of snow and then feather to clear the entire gap. This can actually be faster than the mushroom cut here, and though this can be done without any item, it is so technical that the feather version is actually something worth going for in races. In Boo Cinema, it is possible to use the feather to get up on the upper grind rails of the movie film, but surprisingly doesn't save more time than this easy gap jump. For Dandelion Depths, if you don't use the feather for the final turn at the beginning of the lap, it can be combined with this pole trick to save a significant amount of time. And on Moo Moo Meadows, once again, the best time save would be the same spot you normally want to use a mushroom and use it to tree trick over this entire gap, though there are so many grass cuts you can use it for as well, so feather on this track is nice at any time. Mario Circuit is another track that a feather pull can be great just about anywhere, as there are so many corners that can save you time, and I would advise you use it when pulled in case you ever get shocked and lose it, but if you can keep it for the final corner, it is your best opportunity, as you can use it to essentially land on the final boost panel if you didn't already use it to dodge a red while cutting a corner. And Acorn Heights is another track where you just want to use the feather to take the main shortcut as easy as possible. Though we know there are several ways to take this cut without an item, the feather makes it as easy as the mushroom does. For Dry Bones Burnout, there are a couple ways to do this. Plan A, you try and avoid a lap 2 shock by jumping up to the glider path, or Plan B, you use the feather to wall ride over the final gap. Both can save you a good amount of time, but the second option is faster. Now, on Bowser's Castle, I personally like to use the feather to ensure a fast skip 1 without needing the rail or charge jump, but knowing this can be done without the feather, in order to save the most time, you will want to save it for after the turn skip 2 and skip the lava section where you normally would use a mushroom. Just be sure to not go too far left. You may want to practice this one before doing it in a race. And on Airship Fortress, though the final lap cut can be done by falling off and saving a bit more time, you can consistently use this rail and feather over the whole turn. Very useful every lap and repeatable. Once again, practice this one though before doing it in a race. Not to be boring, but on Wario Stadium, you will just want to use the feather to skip the final turn as you would with a mushroom. It's just too good of a time save. Similar with Toad's Factory, use it for the final turn, but instead trick off the first dirt ramp and aim for the bulldozer rails. If done perfectly, it can match the time save as a mushroom. And on Choco Mountain, even though you can cut any mud section as with a mushroom, by tricking up to this platform and then skipping the largest section of mud, or chocolate I guess, will save you the most time. This Mario Bros. Circuit cut can be a bit more tedious over its mushroom counterpart, but is so worth it every time. If you do struggle though, just use the feather to jump over the tires at the beginning of the lap. And Shy Guy Bazaar has a couple different opportunities, but if able, you will always want to jump up to this rail and take this turn as tight as possible. You can combo it into all the rails at the end and is one of the largest time saves in the entire game that a feather can offer you. For Desert Hills, right after the final item set, jump up to these rails and then trick off at the second coin on each rope, hold right on the second one, and then feather before hitting the ground. On Whistle Stop Summit, both of these cuts can be done shroomless, so you can just take your pick between the gap jump or making the final cut a guarantee by staying on the rail and then feathering onto the wall and jumping onto the final railing by avoiding the billboard sign altogether. On Crown City, if lucky enough to pull a feather at the first item set, you can use it to get on top of these buildings, but realistically, you'll want to save it for the end where you can cut the first grass patch shroomless and then using the feather over the second one. There are a few ways to do this final sequence, so look for a future guide video on this one. DK Spaceport is another track where a feather is useful at every turn. Many people like to bag this track, but if you're like me and choose to run and are lucky enough to pull a feather or two, you can maintain a generous lead and never need a mushroom, often finishing the track ever before shock is even used. On Salty Salty Speedway, a feather is arguably more useful than a mushroom at the end, as you can get on the rail even easier and complete the fast strat into the finish line. This works from the ground or glider path. And now for the final and hardest feather cut to get down consistently, Cheap Cheap Falls. With all the new crazy Tarzan cuts and ways to take these shroomless, it took some time to figure out exactly the best place to use the feather for the best time save, and it turns out it is the final cut, but not in the way you may have seen by going underneath the gazebo over the boxes. No, what you want to do is wall ride and then detach, feather onto the roof, but don't trick. You can avoid all the water and is actually faster than shrooming through if done correctly. Now, if you go too far right, Lakitu will pick you up, and if you trick or don't land on the roof early enough, you will fall off too far left and not save nearly as much time, if at all. Please practice this one a lot before doing it online, but it is repeatable, and I suspect top players will be going for this one soon enough. Before we wrap up, I want to leave you with a few final thoughts about the feather item, because it's honestly one of the most misunderstood tools in Mario Kart World. Feathers are a hybrid item. They aren't just for shortcuts, they're also one of the best ways to instantly dodge shells, and when it comes to routing, the feather isn't just for impossible gap jumps, it can make already known shortcuts way easier and way more consistent. And keep this in mind, we haven't even scratched the surface of feather tech in the intermission routes. With over 200 of those paths in the game, there are probably dozens of skips and time saves nobody's even found yet, so the feather might actually become even stronger than we think already once the community digs deeper. That said, I hope this video helped you look at the feather in a new way, and maybe gave you a few tools to win more races online. If you learned something today, or found an even better feather cut on a track that I didn't mention, please let me know in the comments. And if you want a full breakdown of more advanced shortcuts, button inputs, analysis, just say the word, we can definitely make a follow-up. If you enjoyed the video, leave a thumbs up and consider subscribing for more Mario Kart World content, guides, shortcuts, and breakdowns, and open lobby Sober Kart streams every Tuesday and Thursday. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the track. Let's go.